Hello guys, back again with Citit-id, and for this time we will introduce the deck list of Cardinal Deus or Face. Cardinal Deus or Face played around or centralized around world card, and this is the world card, an order. It's like a field spell in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the world card is very fun. You can retire one of your opponent's unit, you can draw one, and you can make a shadow army token. So far it's the only world in the set from set 2 and set 1. This is the shadow army token. It has 15k attack, and you can boost with it. You can attack, you can boost. This card is so good. We use right line or fish right line. We use Rotis because if you play Rotis in your Vanguard, you can add one word from your deck, and it's a good starting. And usually you will add the one word, you can create one shadow army token. So in grade 2 you can create a shadow army token. You have a 15k attacker or booster, and it's so good. It is much advantage to your opponent. The second one we use Kubisia because if you play world, you can add 5k to your Vanguard or your rearguard. It's so good. And we use Orpheus, the boss. If you have a 2 world, it makes it in abyssal dark world state, and you can counter blast 2 to make up to 3 shadow army token. Next, for the grade 3 lineup, I used the rest of the Orpheus, 3 copies, and 1 in the darkness nobody knows. This card is pretty good. You can soul blast 1 to retire one of your opponent's card. Then it is a world, so you can play it or you can discard it to write depending on the situation. And the next lineup is the grade 2. I use 4 Cardinal Draco Avidred because this card is just so good. It is a 15k attacker if you have 2 worlds, or 1 world is 12k attacker, and this card at the end of the battle, the disunit attack, he can retire 1 shadow army token to retire one of your opponent's unit. So the thing is, Orpheus or this deck can make pretty much easily shadow army token, so there's nothing to lose. You can just retire one of your boosted or attacked shadow army, then you just retire one of your good card of your opponent. This card is pretty good, it's pretty excellent. And the rest we use Cardinal Vangmarisma. This card can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, then add 1 world. This card is so good because you can add 1 card, it's a +1, and you can play it if you have no world. So usually when I use this, we add a world like this. The next, Howling Moonlight Night and Eclipse Moonlight. For this part, I only use Eclipse Moonlight on 3 because Orpheus actually can make easily make 2 shadow army token with only 2 counter blast, but this world can only make 1 shadow army token with 1 counter blast. But why I use at 3? Because I want to add it with Marisma, so many world can make a pretty red up for you can excavate the top card, the 3 top card of your deck on the world. And why we use Howling Moonlight Night at 4? Because it's so good. It's only soul blast 1 and you can draw. So basically it's a draw engine on this deck. This Marisma is also a good searcher. You can also rearrange for the rest of the card in your bottom deck, so you can stack it later. It's pretty self-explanatory. I only use it. And for the grade 1 card, we use Cardinal Noid Tamburino. Why we use it at 4? Because it's so good. It's a plus 15k attacker if it's boost for Shadow Army. So if you have a field with like this, say, you can boost 15. This girl gets plus 15, which is 23, and it's a 38k booster lineup. It's so dangerous for the early game and the late game. And after she battle, you can retire her and her Shadow Army token that in front of her, and then you can go +1, draw 1 card. This card is so good. And we use for nose. I don't have enough Violet Dragon, so I use the 2 of the trial deck, but it's no issue because the null is not so important. But if you can use for Violet Dragon, use for Violet Dragon. And I use Cardinal Prima Equipa. Why I don't use the cat in the DBT-02? Because I think if you discard overworld to counter charge, it's a minus. So what I want to use is this card. Evac is you can attack or boost with this card, and when she attack, she can retire 1 Shadow Army token to counter charge. And probably it's the easiest thing to create more token than discard a world. So I use this, I play test with this, and it's a pretty good card. It's a pretty amazing card. You can put it in behind of your Vanguard, you can put it in front for your rear guard, and she just do amazing. But do remember, if you attack with her, don't retire your Shadow Army token behind her, because if you retire it, the power will go down because the unit doesn't exist. So retire other Shadow Army token, and it's so good. And lastly, for the trigger, 1/4 trigger, so yes, and I use 7 crit, and for heal it's obvious, and I use the new front trigger on the DBT-02 set, because if your opponent is a grade 2, is a grade C3, this card gets plus 5k shield. It's so good, it's literally so good. Why I don't use draw trigger? Because this deck have so many trigger, so many draw. The first thing is Tamborino, we use 4, and we use Howling Moonlight Knight, which is can draw 1, and we use Marisma, which is can excavate 1 world. It's so good, and I think it is enough just to say don't use draw trigger but use critical, because you want to kill your opponent, beat your opponent first before they beat you. Because if you have a full field of good card, like say Orpheus in the Vanguard, and Tamborino with boosted Shadow Army token, and we say the Aphidred with a boosted Shadow Army token, you can pop your opponent, you can draw, and your damage is big. You just have big attack, because that's what Orpheus do. When you have 2 world, this guy from 13k goes up to 18k, and with a boosted Shadow Army token, 15 plus 18 plus 15, it's 33k, and it's so pretty. It's big. It's a big attack. So when you swing big, you have to crit. You have to take your opponent out, and it's pretty strike deck. You just beat stick your opponent till he concede or lose. That's pretty much of it. Thank you for watching, and if you have another question, comment, please like and subscribe. Thank you.